Well, good morning. It is 5:16, and we're going to continue with our reading through the book of Revelation. Remember, the reason why we do this is because in Revelation chapter 1, verse 3, it says, "Blessed is the one who reads the words of this prophecy, and blessed are those who hear it and take it to heart, or take heart what's written in it, because the time is near." So it's one of the books of the Bible that there's a blessing attached to it by just reading it. So let's get to it. Revelation 2, and I'm reading this in, I believe, the NIV. "To the angel of the church of Ephesus write, these are the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand and walks among the 7 golden lampstands. I know your deeds, your hard work, and your perseverance. I know that you cannot tolerate wicked men, and you have tested those who claim to be apostles but are not, and have found them false. You have persevered and have endured hardships for my name and have not grown weary. Yet I hold this against you. You have forsaken your first love. Remember the height from which you have fallen. Repent and do the things you did at first. If you do not repent, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place. But you have this in your favor. You hate the practices of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give the right to eat from the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. To the church of Smyrna, to the angel of the church in Smyrna write, these are the words of him who is the first and the last, who died and came to life again. I know your affliction and your poverty, yet you are rich. I know the slander of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. Do not be afraid of what you're about to suffer. I tell you, the devil will put some of you in prison to test you, and you will suffer persecution for 10 days. Be faithful even to the point of death, and I will give you the crown of life. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. He who overcomes will not be hurt at all by the second death." To the church in Pergamum. To the angel of the church in Pergamum write, these are the words of him who has the sharp double-edged sword. I know where you live. Wow, that's terrifying. Where Satan has his throne. Yet you remain true to my name. You did not renounce your faith in me, even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was put to death in your city, where Satan lives. Nevertheless, I have a few things against you. You have people there who hold to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to entice the Israelites to sin by eating food sacrificed to idols and by committing sexual immorality. Likewise, you also have those who hold to the teaching of Nicolaitans. Repent, therefore, otherwise I will soon come to you, and I will fight against them with the sword of my mouth. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give some of the hidden manna. I will also give him a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to him who receives it. To the angel of the church at Thyatira write, these are the words of the Son of God, whose eyes are like blazing fire, and whose feet are like burnished bronze. I know your deeds, your love, and your faith, your service, and your perseverance, and that you are now doing more than you did at first. Nevertheless, I have this against you. You tolerate that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess. By her teaching, she misleads my servants into sexual immorality and the eating of food sacrificed to idols. I have given her time to repent for her immorality, but she is unwilling. So I will cast her on a bed of suffering, and I will make those who commit adultery with her suffer intensely, unless they repent of her ways. I will strike her children dead. Then all the churches will know that I am he who searches hearts and minds, and I will repay each of you according to your deeds. Now I say to the rest of you in Thyatira, to you who do not hold to her teaching and have not learned Satan's so-called deep secrets, I will not impose any other burden on you. Only hold on to what you have until I come. To him who overcomes and does my will to the end, I will give authority over the nations. He will rule them with an iron scepter. He will dash them to pieces like pottery. Just as I have received authority from my Father, I will also give the morning star. I'll also give him the morning star. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Wow. So there's an intense statement in here. It talks about, in verse 22, I will also cast her on a bed of suffering. I will make those who commit adultery with her suffer, unless they repent of her ways. Verse 23, I will strike her children to dead. A lot of times people have cite that as one of the reasons not to believe in God and how he's just this capricious God. It goes through and he kills children, and from a human perspective, reading something like that can be really difficult to process when I see something like that, because you think the kids are innocent and they don't do anything wrong, and I don't understand why God would do that. And there's a verse in the Old Testament that talks about, I don't know if this is going to comfort you at all, but it helps me. It talks about how when kids die early, they're ushered into the presence of God. David talked about it when he lost his son. He said, he cannot come to me, but I can go to him. He knew in his heart that when he was done, when he died, his child would automatically be in the presence of God, so he would leave and go to be with his lost child. When kids are young and they lose their lives, it's not because of baptism. It doesn't matter if they're baptized or anything like that. The kids are taken from the womb or taken from where they're at and ushered into the presence of God because they're under that age of accountability, that understanding and knowledge and knowing their choices and their decisions and how they affect their relationship with God. At some point, all of us in our life come to a state where we understand that we are, in fact, living in sin and therefore held accountable to God's standard. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, so there's nobody that's innocent. Even a child is not innocent. They're still in sin. But there's the wrath of God is poured out. I guess you'd say the wrath, but the judgment or the cost of that sin is demanded of the one who has an understanding of it, not the one who is either too simple or too young to understand what it is that they're doing. So this is Revelation 2. Tomorrow we're going to go through Revelation 3, so if you want to read ahead, go ahead. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.